Hey, what's up? My name's Justin. Welcome to 65 Drums, and this is another episode of the Viewer Kit Spotlight series. So if you're new to the channel and you've never heard of this is basically where I take drum sets from viewers that watch 65 Drums, and sometimes these people have some really crazy unique drum sets. We break them down, we talk about how much they cost to make, and how they integrate it in their band or their live setup. So let's jump into this kit right here. It's pretty crazy and unique in the best possible way. So this drum set right here is the main kit for the band Date Night. The gear here is split between two people. All the electronic components are Douglas's, and all the acoustic elements are Olivia's. That's why I'm going to say a lot of they and theirs and stuff in this video. Let's break down the gear that's here first before we talk about how they actually integrate it all together, because this stuff gets pretty complicated really quickly. Now the star of the show is obviously this Tama Techstar drum set. You don't see this drum set very much anymore, but it's got a really cool look to it. Believe it or not, Simmons actually did have some real competition back in the day. For the drum module, they're using the very famous Tama TS305. And for the snare, they're not actually using a Tama pad. They're using a Roland SPD-S pad, and they can use sounds from that and mix it together with the Tama sounds. For the cymbals, they decided to go all acoustic, a 22-inch Bospherous Master Series Ride cymbal. And for the hi-hats, it's actually a mixture of two different ones. There's a custom K on top, and there's a vintage Zildjian cymbal on the bottom. So in addition to all that stuff, this rig also has a ton of other pieces on the back end that you wouldn't necessarily think are drum related. They've got a Waldorf 4-pole analog filter, a Korg MS-20 synthesizer, yes, that actually is part of the drum set, a Korg KMX62 keyboard mixer, a Yamaha SPX900 reverb unit, and a Phoenix delay system. Okay, so now that you have an idea of all the individual pieces of gear and the pricing for everything, now let's jump back and talk about how they all integrate together, because this stuff does get kind of complicated. There's a lot more going on here than you might initially think. Let's start off with the brains of the operation, the TS305. This is actually a pretty famous piece of equipment, and those sounds have been used in a lot of different albums and stuff. It's fully analog with a dial per function, so not only can they manipulate the sounds from the drum module, but they also have it running through this filter, giving them yet another layer of control over the sounds. Now, what gives this module a lot of flexibility is the fact that it has individual outs for each pad. You'd think that'd be something that would be more common, decades later, but it really isn't. They've actually taken the kick drum output and routed that over to this synth over here. That's how the Korg MS-20 ties into this whole setup. This is used to trigger an envelope on the synth, which is routed to various other bits of the kit and the band, enabling live side chaining. So jumping back over to the SPD-S pad, it actually goes through some reverb and delay, and then after that, the sound is side chained just like the kick drum, so Olivia can actually duck her own reverb and play the whole signal path like an instrument. They also trigger the synth itself with the kick on some songs. Most electronic kick sounds are just a bunch of resonant filter modulation or oscillator pitch modulation. This band does both of those on the fly. This lets them make some pretty cool sounds, but more importantly, they can control the pitch of the kick and recreate the live kinds of blurred kick bassline sounds from genres of music like trap, bubblegum bass, and stuff like that. The synth player can actually change the note on the keyboard, and it's triggered by the kick. The end result is something that's 100% perfectly in unison. Now, it might seem really complicated what they've done, but this is the reason why Douglas says that they've done it this way. The whole point is to recreate some of the glossy production techniques in pop and EDM without having to use a sequencer or a click track or loops, and not lose the intimacy and liveness of a traditional band. I really understand where he's coming from on this, because I actually work as a stagehand at a theater. So I work shows and I see how bands are trying to balance the whole make it live and also make it sound like the album. They're always trying to, weigh the pros and cons of using tracks and clicks and make it sound spontaneous, but also make sure that it goes right every single time and having that really high quality sound. The interesting thing about pop music and EDM and stuff is that you don't necessarily need a drummer anymore. You can go buy some software, you can buy like a drum machine, and you can call it a day. But whenever you do that, whenever you go down that route, you lose the spontaneity, the concert doesn't feel quite the same, and you just lose something. So what they've done here is they've struck the perfect balance where they have the live drummer, they have the spontaneity, it sounds alive, but it also has the really glossy production quality sound to it. So this kit was really cool to look at and break down. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. By the way, just want to mention, if you want to get your drum set featured in one of these videos, shoot me a message over on Facebook and I'll try to look at your drum set and see whether or not it would fit in a new video. The drum set doesn't have to be like $5,000 or $10,000, and it doesn't have to have this level of sophistication to it. It just has to be kind of unique and worth covering in a video. So shoot me a message over on Facebook if you want to get your drum set covered. And by the way, big shout out to today's Patreon sponsor, Nucho Patty. Thank you so much for supporting 65 Drums over on patreon.com. I don't plug Patreon very much, but basically it's a way for you to support 65 Drums if you want to see more videos like this and also get behind the scenes stuff and get your name featured at the end of videos. Hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in a few.